Now for the information of all hands.
Welcome to the 1MC podcast with Master Chief Jason Vanderhayden. I'm your host, Chief Crystal Lenine, and today we are talking with Captain Julie Kuck and Master Chief Carl Boehmer with the Office of Leadership. Master Chief?
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Well, I tell you, I have been very anxious to do this podcast. This leadership is one of the most important things we have in the Coast Guard. That's what makes the Coast Guard so great is our fantastic leaders. And leadership doesn't just happen by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I'm really very happy to be here today with two of the best leaders that I know, Captain Kuck and Master Chief Boehmer, two folks that have been working tirelessly, very hard on laying out the roadmap for leadership for the future. So both of you, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Master Chief.
Thank you, Master Chief.
So, retention, the blended retirement system is going to change the retention model of the future, in my opinion. And I talked to the other service senior enlisted, and they feel the same way. So what's going to keep our people in the Coast Guard is going to be good leadership. I don't think our budget will be big enough to write continuation paychecks large enough to keep people based on money. So I think they're going to have to love what they do, and I think they're going to have to really appreciate their supervisors and feel like they are growing personally and professionally, and that's what's going to make them not want to leave. They're going to want to stay, and it takes good leadership to make folks feel like they count and they're valued, and we're focusing on inclusion right now, and building that sense of inclusion is a part of leadership. So I want to ask you both, and Captain, we'll start with you. What's your future vision of the Coast Guard Leadership Program? Where do you see us going? Any growth, any changes, anything we can look forward to?
Sure. Thanks, Master Chief. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk about the leadership program. We have a lot of great things going on in the leadership program. There's a lot of exciting things. When people think about our leadership program, they think about our leadership training. That's the first exposure people get. They think of LAMS, they think of Chiefs Academy, but there's a whole lot more that goes into it. Continuous leadership development, how you expose people to leadership, how you develop as leaders. It comes down to that deck plate level, that hangar deck level, how you interact with each other, how you continuously develop as leaders is really so important and so foundational to who we are as Coasties, how we affect that mission accomplishment and how we interact, how we lead inclusively, and how we really support each other in our missions. So we really want to focus on that and how we develop.
That's awesome. I totally agree. I think the Coast Guard does the best. I think we are literally better. And I know I'm biased, but I think we're literally the best at doing role model type leadership, and that just comes from one person emulating their supervisor who's emulating their supervisor. But all that comes from the foundational work that your team is doing. So thank you, Master Chief. What do you think of the future? What do you see? What's some opportunities for us?
Yeah, Master Chief, I'm really excited about the future, especially on the enlisted leadership side, where we have our folks showing up to A school, attending their first leadership school at ALP, continuing on to LAMS, Chiefs Academy, and then on to SELC. And, I've attended all of those, and I'm pretty excited that, as we roll out new content, embedding and incorporating this new mentoring program into all of those leadership checkpoints, it kind of changes the game for the whole organization. So I'm really excited about the outlook for us.
It all starts. It all starts in the beginning, and it really, for us on the enlisted side, it all starts in Cape May, and for the officer side, it starts in New London at OCS and at the Academy. And I think you two just came back from Cape May, is that right?
That's
we
right,
did.
Master Chief.
So you got the opportunity to mentor a depot company, which stands for Direct Entry Petty Officer Training, I believe, something
yes,
like that.
Yes, it is.
So good. Glad I got that right. So, but how was that experience for you? What did you see? What was the energy level like? And did you feel like we're still bringing in? I know our recruiters are doing a fantastic job of bringing in bright, great young folks.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it was a special trip, because I first went through boot camp January 1993 in Delta 142. And, then after a break in service in the early 2000s, I went back through depot in 2010 at the age of 36. So I was so good at boot camp, I did it twice. But realistically, seeing how professional the training environment was and how much we've developed. Cape May, the enlisted memorial is incredible. If anyone out there is listening hasn't been there to see that, they should really see it. It's incredible, and how special that is. But being a company mentor for Depot was great, and it kind of recharged my batteries a little bit, seeing our newest talent coming into the organization, hearing everyone's backgrounds and what they bring to the table. And realistically, and as a reservist myself, I appreciate the maturity factor. We get people developed in their civilian careers, many of them from prior service. We had Army, Marines
Nice.
that came into the organization. And, we're definitely a force multiplier. And then we had a handful of active duty folks actually coming through Depot as well with prior experience. So seeing the training staff in action and, just the level of professionalism is second to none there.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for doing that. Thanks for mentoring that company. We're super excited to get them into the Coast Guard. We really need them. So now we just need to keep them. And that's what leadership is all about, is being able to keep the folks. So you spoke earlier, Captain, about your office. The Office of Leadership in CG 128 is responsible for many things, but most people associate you with driving the kind of the requirements and the foundational work of our leadership schools. What are some of the other aspects of the Office of Leadership that you're responsible for that maybe folks don't know about?
Sure. Thanks, Master Chief. So the Leadership Development Program has many aspects. We both have formal and informal aspects. The formal part, people think of the leadership courses that you go to, which for enlisted workforce, those are tied for your actual advancements. So when you have ALP, that's baked into your A schools. For LAMs, that's your requirements to sit for your service-wides. For LAMs, for your E6 service-wide. For Chiefs Academy, advancement requirement for E8. For senior listed leadership course, that's for E9. Mm-hmm. And we also have advanced for our very senior enlisted for a Keystone. And we have also DoD schools available for our partner services, sister services, which is great. But we also have informal opportunities through our Inspirational Leadership Awards, which the Commandant and you yourself actually announced to our award winners and have those personal calls, which are so inspiring for our really top leadership expertise throughout the Coast Guard that really showcases that great talent we have for our leaders throughout the workforce. We have our leadership development, our reading list for our service that kind of showcases that continual learning you can have as leaders. We know through on-the-job training, we develop and we actually lead the best at our units. So we don't go off to have that leadership as an event that we train in a vacuum. We continue that leadership development throughout our careers at our units. So we kind of thread that through. And our mentoring program, our newest addition to our leadership program that Master Chief Boehmer was talking about, that's our way that we kind of infuse all that through. And then lastly, our individual development plan is part of that leadership journey. And that kind of ties in through our mentoring program, because your mentor has an aspect. They actually sign your IDP, mm-hmm. as well as that continual development as a leader in your professional development journey.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want to talk, I get you to comment a little bit. So I've been participating with and I get invited to speak to the mid-grade officer and civilian career transition course, otherwise known as MOXIE. I'm very happy to see that we've kind of, I think we've committed to that now. It was every year we thought we might do it. But have we committed to that now?
We have, yes, Master Chief. So we've expanded on that. We're really excited about that. So we actually have MOXIE, which is the mid-grade officer and civilian transition course, and we have a new course, which is now the senior leadership transition course, which we've expanded that to. We're going to be putting 500 people through a year, which is a huge commitment from the Coast Guard. So we're going to make sure all of our O4s go through that course, and we have that availability to sustain. So every officer is going to have leadership training, and that's also going to be for our GS-13s as well.
Great.
That in the past, it was we could kind of self-select into leadership training for our officers. Now all of our officers will have leadership experience and formal leadership training once in their career. So.
That was the one thing that was always amazing to me. Our officers are amazing leaders. They are really, really great leaders. But they didn't have any leaders. There was no, after the academy, there was really no formal leadership training. So that was truly role model leadership. And I'm thrilled to see that, we're giving them giving the officers the opportunity to discuss leadership theory and principles, and that's really neat. It's just amazing to me our long history of the Coast Guard, and we've finally just now committed to that. But very happy to see that. So the new leadership competencies are critically important to having that foundational document that we can discuss our leadership thoughts. It's nice to be able to sit around and talk about what good leadership is. You kind of know it when you see it, but when you have a document like the leadership competencies that you can point to say, here's what we expect. I know that I used our leadership competencies when I was evaluating people. So when I would take out the marks and I would look at the leadership competencies and where they correlated to our marking system, and I would kind of use that to say, okay, I see this person is this level and this person is this level. So the leadership competencies are very helpful for all of you out there that mark people in terms of having that backup document to say when somebody says, hey, I kind of thought I was a 6 and you kind of think they're a 5, and you can say, well, according to leadership competencies, this is kind of where I see you. So I'm very thankful for those. I was a Chiefs Academy instructor, and I used to use those leadership competencies and leadership development framework, in a lot of the lessons to just kind of say, this isn't Jason's idea of what it is. This is actually what the Coast Guard says, you should have as a leader. So I'm grateful for your entire team, Captain Hawes, and all the folks that work together to put that, to update those. I think they're amazing, and everybody should go check out the new leadership competencies. Speaking of Chiefs Academy and LAMS, sometimes I get people that say, hey, I found this DOD E5 course, and, I'm going to be able to put like 3 or 4 of my people through there. Can I get that to count for LAMS? What's the Coast Guard's kind of take on, how do we decide which courses we're going to let count for LAMS and which not?
Sure, that's a great question, Master Chief. So it's really important that we make sure we're consistently developing our leaders. And just like you were just talking about the leadership development framework, we want to make sure that we have the same leadership growth for our total workforce. So with that lens, we look at other services courses to make sure they meet our requirements for what we're looking for our leaders. So we have on our leadership website, our internet website, we have kind of the approved courses for DoD that have within that same rigor that meet those requirements for us.
Oh, good. So I agree with you that you want to be sure that what your E5 is learning is going to help them when they get to the Chiefs Academy and not be something totally foreign to them. So when they get to the Chiefs Academy, they went through ALP, and then they went through a separate leadership course, and then they come back and go to the Chiefs Academy and they have different language. And so I agree with you on that. That's good. So speaking of LAMS, during COVID, we had to kind of adjust the way we delivered LAMS. And, I know that there's, folks that are trying to get into LAMS, and then sometimes we have a LAMS class and we have to call around and beg people to apply for LAMS. Can you talk to me a little bit about how we apply for leadership schools, and what, if you have advice for folks or, pitfalls you've seen or things that maybe should be working better but maybe aren't?
Sure, that's a great point, Master Chief. So LAMS has been around for a long time, but we're still surprised that people don't know about local convenings in their area. It's a course that we send people out to local units. So we have instructors that travel around because we try to export this. So if you are looking to go, you're an E4 or you're an E5, and you're advancing soon, look at your schedule ahead, work with your supervisor, work with your unit training officer. 6 to 8 weeks out, you should be looking at that and beyond to see what convenings are in the area, or look at your schedule. Some units they coordinate training to see what's available to apply for those convenings, to get on the schedule and submit that ETR to get in those convenings.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing you say is, don't count on somebody tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, here's your LAMS request. You need to get after that. If you have a leadership class, a leadership school requirement, you take it upon yourself to put in for it, to find those classes. I agree with you 100%. And I talk to Senior Chief Chris Wilson about the Chiefs Academy all the time. So be sure, please, if you know that you need a leadership school for advancement, don't wait around. Put that ETR in, get with your supervisor, get that in, and make sure that you're requesting those schools so that you give yourself maximum flexibility to get there. I know that I've worked with PPC and PSC a lot, and we are very reluctant to grant waivers to leadership schools because somebody just didn't get around to it, or their operational schedule didn't allow for it. Make sure that you're, right away putting in for that. Can you put in for LAMS as an E4 if you want to?
You can, Master Chief. And that's part of advocating for yourself is, advocate for yourself. That teaches you to advocate for your subordinates when you grow up through the organization.
That's
so
right.
Start early.
Good advice. So for all you out there that need LAMS, please start putting in for it. Find the schools. It's and if you're a supervisor of somebody that you think might need LAMS, make sure that they're putting in for it. Encourage them, help them put those ETRs in. So I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit because we talked a little bit about the IDP earlier and about the leadership competencies, help inform the IDPs. The new IDP has been done for a little while, but not a long time. Can you talk to us a little bit about the updates to the IDP and who should be doing it and kind of how we can maybe reinforce the importance of doing the IDP?
Sure. So the new IDP, we published this last December for the new form. We streamlined it. It's meant to be very conversational. And the LDC did a lot of great work and helped us with a lot of focus groups on this. So it's now only 2 pages. So those of you who are listening who did the old form, clocking in at a whopping 12.5 pages, should be pretty happy to have only 2 pages. And it's meant to capture kind of that whole person. It's also a total workforce form as well. So used by officers, enlisted and civilians. So it captures everything. There's a lot of optional sections there, but from everything from your financial well-being to your personal development to your professional development. So really kind of walks you through. What's great is as a supervisor, you can kind of work and get that whole person aspect. So as you're reporting into your new unit, the good news is it's required for you for your first timer at a new unit. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get that exposure whether you like it or not as good coasties reporting in. But it's also a good thing because it's going to require you to sit down and have that conversation with your supervisor. And so you can advocate for who you are as a person and who you are as an emerging leader in the service. And your supervisor is going to get a good feel for who you are and what your needs are as an up-and-coming leader in the service.
I tell you, it's a great communication tool, and I'll tell you, for me, I did not have much of a plan until I got to about E6. I just kind of lived, paycheck to paycheck, month to month, and I wasn't able to plan very well, and I've learn that planning, if you can sit down and write out your goals and kind of write out the steps that you need to do to achieve your goals, you can get where you want to get to much faster and you'll be a lot more successful. It took me a while to learn that lesson. I wish I would have learned it sooner. But that's when I talk to young folks and they say, Master Chief, what can I do to achieve my goals of being a Master Chief or a Chief Warrant Officer or going to OCS? What can I do? I always tell them, hey, plan, write out your goals, write out what it takes to achieve them, and then share those goals with your supervisor so that they can help you achieve them. Absolutely critically important. And I'm thankful that we turned the IDP into something that was, not so onerous and something that more people would want to use. So great job on that. So last thing, but probably the neatest thing and something that I emphasize at every all hands, I'm mentoring 2 people right now. I have registered, and I'm not doing a terrific job of it, but I'm trying. I'm mentoring a civilian and I'm mentoring an HS2.
Wow,
so
that's great.
So I'm excited about it. It's probably the best hour I spend of the day during the week is just talking to them. But we've always had a mentoring program in the Coast Guard. It just didn't have a lot behind it. It wasn't resourced well. It didn't you had to go hunt for it, and it was just something that if you personally wanted or sought a mentor, the Coast Guard could help you do that. But now we're really getting after mentoring. And when we talk about the retention of the future, I'll say that mentoring could be the most important thing we do to keep our people in the Coast Guard. because there's a lot of mystery behind a lot of the processes of the Coast Guard, the assignments, the advancements, the promotions, screening for special assignments, all that kind of stuff. And having somebody that you can ask those questions of and learn from is just incredibly important. It takes a lot of the anxiety out of life, and it helps your families too, because your family's kind of look to you like, hey, well, how do you do this? Well, I don't really know, and you don't want to admit to not really knowing. So this is just a home run. I think it's one of the most important thing, and I'm not just, this isn't hyperbole. I truly believe this, that when we get this program up and running, it's going to be huge. The Chief SimSAF, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Bass, she has asked me about this a couple times, and I think the Air Force is looking at this too. It's an incredible program. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, Master Chief, to kind of talk about, and then I'll follow on with some questions as I see it.
Yeah, Master Chief, I definitely am excited about the program as well. This is a game changer for the organization, and realistically, we're changing culture here. And this program it's not just a mentoring program; it's also a networking program.
That's right.
Yeah. And you touched base briefly on how it also helps families out. I got a few examples later. I could share some of those with you, because I'm really excited running this program every day. I get to hear the stories of the end result from this mentoring program. And so, yeah, in the past we had several mentoring programs, and obviously, they weren't built for sustainability, and they weren't embedded into our culture. And so that's where we decided, we have the executive level support, we have it funded, we have it staffed. We have to now make sure that we fully embrace mentoring. So we decided to start at the foundation. So we kind of went after each accessing source in the Coast Guard. So on the enlisted side, obviously, we have it introduced at Cape May, where recruits can find out about the program through a flyer in their recruit packet. It's also discussed during recruit training. On the civilian workforce side, civilian HR has a slide deck now and brings awareness to our newest civilian employees. On the commissioned officer side, the Coast Guard Academy, they actually have this same software, a separate program, but similar software. And what's exciting for the Coast Guard is we're the only service that has our service mentoring programs connected to the Academy and the service program, where at graduation, the cadets, their profiles are merged over into the big Coast Guard mentoring program.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're kind of leading the way. I can't remember a time in the organization where we actually led the way on anything for any other service, and we're admired. Yeah, absolutely. You brought up the Air Force. I helped them out a few months back, and they built a pilot program to test that out for the Air Force. And since then, every single service has reached out. Every entity inside of DHS has reached out. So it's really exciting to have a cutting-edge, innovative program, app-enabled, in the palm of all of our members' hands. And, I think that historically that was a challenge with the Coast Guard, because we have small units dispersed all throughout the country. And historically, we had these geographic barriers to people finding mentors besides whoever was at their local unit. And now this platform's kind of removed that, where you can connect with anyone anywhere in the world in the Coast Guard, because it obviously it works on the workstation. You can find us on the Pixel dashboard, but also you can use it on your cell phone. And exciting news, just last week we got the app authorized, so you can actually go onto the App Store, download the Coronis app, put in your Coast Guard email address and your password. And it's kind of exciting having that, because it'll send the push notifications right to your cell. So if your mentor sends you a message or provides you a resource, it'll come right to your cell phone. I think the other exciting part on this program, more touches base on the networking capability, is the communities marketplace. So, currently we have 153 communities built out. We have all of the enlisted ratings. Some of the enlisted ratings have multiple communities in there. We have all the officer specialties, all of the affinity groups, civilian workforce communities, and reservist communities. And what's nice is that's where you have this peer-led collaborative space where people can share advice, share resources, create discussions. And it's exciting for me to see that, especially, now people are starting to learn how to use the platform. And, it's one of those things where, Facebook started someplace and people didn't know exactly what it was. I think it went from MySpace to Facebook or one of those, a long time ago, and people didn't really know how to use that platform. But, people are starting to learn how to use this. And this morning, just before coming up here, we have 1,450 members. I'm sure you could remember not that long ago, we had Seaman Brianne Johnson out there at a SKA school. She was our 1,000th enrollee.
Right.
And we were excited about that because that was kind of our annual benchmark, looking at DHS's mentoring program and the other services. Our annual goes 1,000, but this has really taken off, and I'm excited about it.
I am too, I tell you. And I want to thank you personally as we're sitting here and for the audience. Master Chief Boehmer was on the Personnel Readiness Task Force, leading a lot of incredibly important personnel initiatives, trying to make sure that the Coast Guard's ready to meet mission now and into the future. And he's continued. Now he's still a Master Chief Petty Officer in the Coast Guard Reserve component, but he's also a civilian leading this effort with the mentoring program. And Carl, I want to thank you very much. Your dedication to your shipmates is incredible. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Master.
So basically, I'm mentoring a civilian and a corpsman, and then I could find that you could quickly get overwhelmed with mentoring. So what how does it break it down for me a little bit? Like, okay, I want to put myself out there to be a mentor. How do I make sure that I don't get too busy?
Absolutely. So, in the platform, we have 4 different formats of mentoring. Essentially, we have a long-term one-on-one mentoring, a short-term one-on-one mentoring, the communities marketplace, which is kind of a networking collaborative area. And then we have a reverse mentoring format called Fresh Perspectives, which I actually use you as one of the photos on that. So we wanted to make sure that we maintained the satisfaction and health of the program, especially on that one-to-one connection, because to really be an effective mentor, it takes time and a lot of effort. So we kind of implemented some controls in the program. So once you have 2 mentees in the program, you actually don't populate anymore. So anyone enrolling in the program, they wouldn't even see you as an option. And then once you do win those connections, you'll then obviously show available. The short-term one-to-one mentoring, which is called flash mentoring, we didn't put a cap on that because those are quick one-time connections where you have a certain topical request for mentoring, and usually it's a one-time engagement, So we didn't put a cap on that. But realistically, there's so many options, having 700 plus mentors in the system. The system uses sophisticated matching algorithms. So as you enroll, it's actually starting to connect you and show you your best options, who you might best connect with. And it's an enterprise-wide system. You might show that you have a civilian you best connect with. You might show a reservist, commissioned officer. It just depends on how you answer those questions. But there's a series of filters that'll allow you to narrow that down more, so specifically on what you're looking at. If you want to look inside of your specialty, inside your rating, certain qualifications, and of course you could also utilize the keyword, which is the kind of the game changer for the organization. But that'll help you narrow down exactly who you would like as your mentor or mentee, because you can connect both ways actually.
I tell you, I've found this to be really, really neat, and as I travel around and talk about it, people are really enjoying the being able to find a mentor and somebody they can talk to ask questions of. So I'm confident that this will continue to grow. I encourage everybody listening that check out the mentoring program. So where do they need to go? I've listened to this on my way into work. I get into work. I'm like, hey, I'm going to check this out. What do I need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the Pixels dashboard, which everyone's familiar with. There's on the links tab, there's actually a second page. If you click that, you can go down and see our logo there on the links. You could go directly to coastguard.cronus.com.
Can you spell Cronus for me?
It's CHRONUS.
Okay.
Cronus. And obviously, Cronus is who we are contracted with as our vendor to run the mentoring program.
So do I spell that out? Coast Guard, COASTGUARD,
Yes.
Cronus.com?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. coastguard.cronus.com, and that'll take you to the logon page. Also, our flyers are pretty much everywhere, so you can hit one of our QR codes. It'll take you directly to the page. And of course, you could always send us an email to our email inbox, which is mentoringprogram@uscg.mil.
That's easy.
So a few exciting things that have transpired from this recently. So I love hearing to that email. I get a lot of anecdotal stories of the impact that this is bringing the organization. So we had a E5 that works at CGRC, and she was interested in possibly looking into going the CGIS route.
Sure.
And didn't have a lot of background experience or knowledge or know where to go and how to start that. So she utilized the platform, the one-to-one mentoring, and I was able to connect with a lieutenant commander. Lieutenant commander has some background with working with CGIS, and he was able to get her started in the right direction, provided, and they're still actually in the one-to-one mentoring program right now. And what's interesting, though, while they were in that, development stage of getting her applied for CGIS, her husband, who's a civilian, graduated with a bachelor's in aviation engineering. And it came up in discussion during one of the mentoring sessions. And so Lieutenant Commander actually has an aviation background as well. And said, hey, there's a Naval Air Station, Patuxent River is not too far from you. Did you have your husband apply there? So he actually provided the networking to have him apply, and her husband actually got a job at the Naval Air Station now. So that's what was funny when you talked about how it also impacts families, and I think there's a huge resiliency piece to this because you might want to reach out and connect with someone, outside of where you work and be able to get some information. That's a big part of that, knowing there's someone out there in the palm of your hand that you can reach out to, connect with, and help you grow professionally, personally. It's outstanding.
I wish I would have. I was fortunate. At the E5 level, I worked for a master chief who started mentoring me. Before that, I didn't have much, and I'll tell you, I'm lucky to be here right now because I didn't have a lot of great mentoring. And then once I finally found that it took somebody else to help me to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve and kind of coach me and tell me the things that I needed to hear, not that I wanted to hear. That was critical to my success. And I think you're providing a formal avenue for this. And I'm so thankful to the entire 128 leadership team for promoting this, staffing it, resourcing it, and making it, as popular as it is right now, and being as enthusiastic about it. I mean, it's one thing just to have it, but to be an enthusiastic champion like you guys are. Thank you.
Well, that's great going on the road shows. We've met so many people, and honestly, there's a lot of excitement from the fleet. And realistically, it's run by all of you that are listening, the mentors, mentees, the community leads, community members. You have made this program what it is, and I just ask you to keep up the excitement and energy, keep spreading the word. I challenge everyone to bring awareness to their shipmates and get everyone enrolled.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. So, Captain, I tell you, you got a great team. You have probably, in my opinion, the most important mission that we have, which is developing leaders of the future. The leadership is absolutely going to be critical to our retention and to keeping the Coast Guard strong and vibrant and able to meet the missions of the future. And we're growing as a service, and it's just an incredible time to be in the Coast Guard. I can't thank you enough for your dedication to your shipmates and all the entire Coast Guard workforce for developing the leadership programs. Now it's not just for active duty, it's not just reserve. We have civilian leadership. The auxiliaries get involved a lot too. Any closing thoughts or anything that you want to share with everybody as we look to the future of Coast Guard leadership?
Master Chief, it's a real pleasure to serve. We have an outstanding team. We've really work across really the whole organization. It's not just Office of Leadership. We work in conjunction with LDC, Institute for Leadership, really to bring apart like these incredible solutions to really advance this. It's a work in progress, like we are as leaders, that we continually develop. We're continually evolving our programs to bring better support for our workforce. So for all the leaders out there who are listening, please continue to develop as leaders, advocate for yourself, continue to just do better and work for your subordinates, work for yourself, and continue to grow.
That's awesome. I want to put in a plug for the entire leadership team of the Coast Guard, the CG-128, the Office of Leadership, but also the Leadership Development Center, ForceCom, everybody that's involved in the leadership continuum of the Coast Guard. Just thank you. We have the strongest leadership of any service, my opinion, and we have the highest retention of any service because of that strong leadership. And I want to thank the entire leadership development team in the Coast Guard for all their hard work. If you want a very rewarding job, if you want something where you love coming to work every day and you feel like you make a difference, find a special assignment teaching leadership at the Leadership Development Center's facilities at the Chiefs Academy, Lambs, Academy Company Chiefs, all those jobs, they are just super rewarding, and you get exposed to all the different ratings. You get exposed to a lot of Coast Guard senior leaders and Coast Guard strategy. So thank you, Captain, for being the kind of the point person for leadership for the Coast Guard. And I look forward to great things in the future and expanding our leadership training and opportunities.
Thanks so much, Master Chief.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Master Chief.
Thanks.
Take care.
You too.